Devan, I see things are looking up for Vodacom, but as a consumer, I want to know what it means for me. Does it mean I'll pay less for data and stuff?
I'll tell you what, we can ask the CEO of Vodacom, Shameel Joosub, in a second. Let's get to that story. More data demand and an increase in mobile money use spelt good news for Vodacom. The mobile giant seeing sales for the year growing by 4.5% to more than 100 billion rand. Now, even as lockdown restrictions loosened last year, local data traffic was up almost 20% compared to the previous year. Data services have become a major income contributor for mobile companies. Vodacom's customer base in South Africa growing 3.2% to 45.5 million subscribers. The company will now expand its network infrastructure. That drive is already on. Let's get more insight now from Vodacom CEO Shameel Joosub. Shameel, thanks very much indeed for your time. So revenue is up, there's more data sales and mobile money activity also picking up. Was this largely behind your good showing this afternoon?
Yes, I think, data has really played an important part and continues to grow. And I think, new services, mobile money, IoT, fiber is becoming a more important part of the contribution to the group. New services now contributing 18% of revenue.
Now, having said that, I mean, come June the 1st, your Red Flexi and mobile broadband price plans go up, Shameel. Contract prices went up in April. Some may ask, at what point does your purchase of new spectrum, for example, start curbing these price increases?
Well, I think there's a number of things to look at. And when you look at contracts, you also have to take into account the raising prices of devices. And that, of course, plays into the price points as well. So that's one part. So prices will continue to come down, but there's some underlying prices, like in the contract segment, where you have to cater for now more expensive devices that you have to push prices up.
But then you also have this issue, I believe that, look, you're spending, what, R1 billion more than you did the previous year when it comes to infrastructure spend. Part of that spectrum opening is also part of it, I would imagine. And that CapEx is growing faster than your revenue coming in. So you obviously see something very positive in the pipeline with regard to this infrastructure spend. That in itself, I would imagine, would curb steep price increases?
Yeah, I think it's a multitude of different factors. I mean, one is we're spending a lot of money on batteries, so just to kind of keep the lights on, so to speak. And a big issue for us is power and power resiliency, and so that's costing us more. And so we're having to invest, almost R1 billion a year in batteries. So that's one big issue that we're faced with. And then, of course, it's the investment into new modernized infrastructure so we can take full advantage of the spectrum and introduce new technologies like 5G into the market, but also make sure that we can keep, pace with the demand for data and make sure that we're giving our customers a differentiated customer experience.
Shameel, I want to talk about what you touched on now, and that's the theft of batteries and vandalism at your towers and base stations. I mean, you said previously, Vodacom saying it really does cost millions to keep this thing going. Is it knocking your bottom line, and where are we to mitigating this problem?
Well, I mean, we lose close to 200 million a year on battery theft. So we've got, and it's kind of a vicious circle, because on the one side, the power outages means that you need a lot more batteries, you need a lot more generators on site. So that's definitely having an impact. So you're investing a lot more. And then, of course, the theft, has become more rampant because you've got more batteries now. So that's become a big issue. We're now moving to armed response on the sites, which, we try to avoid, but the losses are just too heavy. So now we're having to invest a lot into paying for armed response per site.
And it's interesting you're mentioning specifically what you're doing on the security front. Just talk to me about that. I mean, increasingly it's probably getting more brazen at these tower sites. What are you doing security-wise that may be different from 2 years ago?
Well, what we have done, what the South African Police Services and with the other operators is created a joint operating center where effectively, they can pick up these syndicates and try and crack the syndicates, because some of the batteries do land up across the borders and so on and so on. So you have to, there is definitely, more focus on that going forward, but you're coupling that with armed response as well. And then, of course, the use of technology, right, where you can try and lock the sites using lithium-ion batteries instead of lead batteries and so on. So, to try and decrease the amount of theft as well.
I'm wondering what, a mobile giant CEO like yourself does when you look at these press conferences now increasingly almost on a daily basis from Eskom, and you've got the surge in power cuts increasing. I mean, exactly how does it impact you of late? Because the rate at which we're experiencing load shedding certainly is very, very different from a couple of months ago. I mean, does it make you restless?
It does, Devan, because it creates, and I'd say it's a very big issue facing the economy, because you need power for everything. And if we want to get GDP growth up, we need to make sure there's power available for everything. And I think you're dealing with a multitude of different issues. You've got the Eskom issues, then coupled with that, you've got the theft of cables and so on. That's on the municipal infrastructure. So it is very frustrating, because as the amount of incidences increase, that requires us to invest a lot more into batteries, and we need more generators. We need more fuel on sites as well. So it becomes frightfully expensive to try and manage all of these different dynamics. So and you're plowing a lot more money into generators, batteries, and so on. And only for the batteries to get stolen. So it's extremely frustrating.
We'll have to leave it there. Well, thanks very much indeed. Vodacom CEO Shameel Joosub, they're talking to us about the latest results.